Good morning. I'm reading y'all's comments. Alyssa, get up. You can sleep when you're dead. Don't you be oversleeping. That's what Shane says. That's what Shane says. Oh, wait, Tracy, you sent me a text message. I forget. Let me see what it says. Oh, you're talking about football. All right. I've been on the Chris got here early. So Chris and I've been chit-chatting 6:30 and he's distracted me. It's all his fault. I have a lot going on. A lot. And I'm going to start getting ready so I don't go over. I feel like my body is like screaming. I don't even know if that makes sense. But like I'm not sleeping because I'm having hot flashes every 15 minutes. I'm not sleeping because I sleep on my back and I've got stitches in my back. Last night, I must have got up 4 times to go to the bathroom. If you can relate, you get me. And Shane goes, in the middle of the night, he goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not okay." And he was like, what is going on? And I'm like, I'm hot. I got stitches in my back. I can't hear. I got ringing in my ear. Like, it's just like too much on me physically. And so like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. And out of being in menopause, having stitches in my back and my ears, let me, like, which one is the worst? It's my ears, by far. I have made a bad mistake by having surgery. A really bad mistake. I sit here, you know how like when there's something wrong with you and you kind of got to figure it out yourself? You know, I'm talking about like you have to figure out like what is actually going on. And so I have really tried over the past week to go like, what is triggering me? What do I feel like? Like I'm trying to really be in tune with myself when it comes to my ears. Because hearing you had this Meniere's disease where I've never heard that word a day in my life, you know, and the diagnosis that I got, I mean, yes, he did a hearing test, but there was no like test to say that I had that. Is there a test for it? Like, is an x-ray or like, how do you know I have Meniere's disease? Like I believe you have Meniere's disease. I don't need, I believe you have, I need facts. I need facts. And so Shane was like, "Judy, I really think that you need to go and get a second opinion." So last week I went to my primary care doctor and I said, Leah, she's my nurse practitioner. I said, I'm a train wreck. I was like, I'm having hot flashes like crazy. My gynecologist has taken me off all my hormones. I can't do this. I'm all over the place. Like, I'm getting pissed off at Shane because he's talking. If you could just stop talking. Like, it's not good. It's not good at all. And so she said, I don't understand, because they took me off hormones because my mother had a blood clot disorder. And so she was like, the gynecologist is not the one that put me on the hormones. It was my primary care doctor. And the hormones that I was on was a compound. Well, the gynecologist said, I'm taking you off all this. And she put me on a low dose of estrogen. It's like 0.5. And at first I was like, wow, okay, I'm good. Then all of a sudden, I guess it took a minute for the compound to get out of my system. I'm a train wreck. And so I told her, she said, well, Judy, so there's a hormone specialist in Dr. Turner's office, and she came in there and talked to me. She's like, compound drugs are the safest that you can take. So anyway, they drew my blood to see where I'm at. And I was like, oh, you don't need, I can tell you, I'm a train wreck. My emotions are a train wreck. I'm having hot flashes. I don't like to be around people. people talking gets on my nerves. Like, I'm not good. Like, I'm not good. I'm not sleeping. So, she said, well, let's just do a blood test to see where you're at, and then we'll go from there. So my next appointment is the 22nd. When, I can remember when I used to call my grandmother, and my grandmother would tell me every doctor's appointment she had. You know what I'm talking about? Like, well, this is going on. This is going on. I'm like, ugh. And here I am. If you looked at my calendar right now, it's like, there's like a doctor's appointment every single day. It's like surgery on the 18th, 4 fillings on the 19th. It's just like a train wreck. Second opinion on the da-da-da. Like, hormones on this day, surgery on this day. And I'm like, it's bad when I look at my calendar and it's like 4 days this week I have to go to the doctor for the next month and a half. Like, it's just not good. So so the hormones are being tested. I'm going for a second opinion about my ears. And I'm getting my melanoma taken out every 2 weeks. And my back is doing well. The first 2 days were kind of rough. I'm good now. I mean, like, when I lay down and sit down, it's kind of like painful, but for the most part, I'm doing well with my melanoma surgery. I got a spanking by YouTube. YouTube is spanking me. Facebook is spanking me because I put the picture of my incision on YouTube and Facebook. So Facebook took it down. YouTube took it down. And I got my first, I think it's called violation or strike or something by YouTube. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, oh my gosh. I thought by me putting the picture out there people would see the reality. Because I could sit here and say, if I said, I have melanoma, I got to have surgery, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like, oh, she has melanoma. It sounds like a little scrape. You know what I'm saying? Like a little scrape of surgery. And I showed you how deep they had to go in my back because I wanted to spread awareness because my doctor asked me to. So I thought I was doing a good, I didn't post it to make someone just like want to vomit or gross out. That was not the intention. And if I did that, I'm sorry to you. I posted it because my doctor said melanoma is misunderstood. People don't realize what happens when you have melanoma and how it can kill you. And he was like, you have a following, and it would be great if you could spread awareness. So I thought I was doing a good thing by showing y'all the intensity of what can happen when you have melanoma. It's not like a little scrape, it's like a deep cut that they have to go into your back. And I thought I was doing a good thing, but instead I got a spanking from social media for putting it on there. So if I grossed you out, I didn't, that was not my intentions. My intention was to hope to help save someone's life. But I won't do that again. When it comes to my ears, it's getting me depressed. I mean, like, I am frustrated. I'm frustrated because I can hear. It feels like my ears are full of fluid, and when I bend over, I can hear the fluid like psh, 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 psh. I know it's fluid. So I'm not saying that I don't have Meniere's disease, but part of me goes, have I had Meniere's disease the whole time and y'all did surgery for no reason at all? That's what I feel like. Like, did y'all not give me the correct diagnosis? I have been doing a lot of studying on Meniere's disease, and I joined a couple of pages. Hey, I really like this blush. I forgot who makes it. Hang on. Tarte. It's a liquid blush. I really like it. I joined a couple of pages, and so many people suffer from it. And most people do get hearing aids to try to deal with it. I do feel very blessed when I get on the page because mine doesn't seem as severe as a lot of people's. Like, I'm not just like walking around drunk feeling. And the reason is because the doctor put me on meclizine, and that has really helped with the space. I don't know if that's a word. I feel airheaded kind of feeling, and that the meclizine has helped a lot with it. And I've been reading about some people that have it and that just really suffer with vertigo. I don't know if you call mine vertigo, but mine's not as severe, and I'm very blessed considering a lot of people like can't even go to work because they have vertigo so bad, and they've lost like tons of weight from being nauseated from the vertigo. So I do feel very blessed that I'm not that bad. The biggest issue that I have is I have a hard time standing and sitting, and having conversation with people. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I got to go to Petals from the Past and stand and have conversations with people. What am I going to do on top of having stitches in my leg? If you meet me in person, just know that my conversations can't be too long or I'm going to fall out on the floor. Even when I sit and have a conversation, it has something to do with staring in the same spot. Like if I'm staring and talking to you, I can't do it. I have to do this. And it looks like I'm not paying attention to you. And I just can't stare in the same spot, or I feel just weird feeling. So if you come to Petals and I'm like trying to have a conversation with you and I'm like looking at the birds and my watch and things like that, I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's just I can't do it. I can't. So anyway, I've accepted the fact because I've read about a lot of people do a lot better when they have hearing aids. And so I have been researching hearing aids. I'm trying to come to acceptance that I might need hearing aids. And I'm getting there. Like it's not that I don't really care that people see that I have a hearing aid in my ear. That's not the what's bothering me. What's bothering me is I'm like, I am not going to be this way the rest of my life. Fix it. Like, fix it. That's how I feel. That's what I'm frustrated with. I'm like, surely there's like stick a vacuum cleaner in my ear and suck. If you would just suck this fluid out of my ear, I would be fine. I don't need a hearing aid. I don't need any medication. Just stick the vacuum cleaner down my ear and suck out the fluid, and then I'll be fine. Okay, I know that doesn't make sense, but that's how I feel. And so, all right, I'm going to talk about Jack for a minute, and then I'm going to switch to the topic. Someone is not going to agree with me on here. Okay? And if you're that person that does not agree with me, it's because you don't have chickens or you don't have poultry or you don't have it. Like, if you disagree with me, it's because you don't understand. Trust me. When it comes to having poultry meaning birds, ducks, geese, chickens, pigeons, pheasants, peacocks, a bird, okay? When it comes to poultry, a lot of vets don't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to poultry. This is my opinion, okay? And the reason is because majority of people do not take their poultry to the vet. Okay? They don't. And the reason is because you can't get too attached to a chicken or a duck or something like that because they'll die in a heartbeat. Okay. Like they find every reason to die. So when you take, let's just say one of your chickens gets sick and you take it to the vet, you're looking at at least $100 bill. Well, when you have 15 chickens, let's just say, you can't run every chicken to the vet or you will be broke. You will be upside down. So as a chicken farmer, as a poultry farmer, you have to learn to do things yourself. You can ask anybody that has chickens. You have to learn how to have medicine in stock, shots in stock, and you look to other farmers. A lot of people that have their own chicken pages, they'll post pictures of their chicken or their duck or whatever, and they're like, help me, what is this? And chicken people know, and they go, oh, that's bumblefoot. What you need to do, here's a video on it. You got to lacerate their foot, and you got to squeeze the corn out of it. Give them this antibiotic, wrap their foot. They'll tell you exactly what to do, because chicken people, we all go through the same illnesses. They all get bumblefoot. They all get respiratory. They all get coccidiosis. And I can pinpoint it. I can look at a chicken and I can tell you what's wrong. And I'm not the only one. All people that have chickens can diagnose their animals pretty quickly, and they have medicine on hand to treat them. And if they don't, all they have to do is call another chicken person. That's how we are. So, Jack, I had surgery on Thursday. Thursday night, Shane was doing all the chores, and I was sitting out there, and I saw Jack from a distance, and he had it looked like a big black. And I said, Shane, what is wrong with Jack's eye? And he looked and he said, nothing. Well, I thought maybe I was just seeing things. So I didn't get up to go look, because Shane said there was nothing wrong. That was my first mistake. So Shane put Jack to bed. The next morning, which was Friday morning, I get up to let Jack and them out, and I was like, his eye was huge, and he had blood all up under here. And I was like, oh, why did I listen to Shane? Why did Shane say there was nothing wrong with his eye? I know my animals. I should have known there was something wrong with his eye. I should have got up, but I was kind of in pain and stuff, and I was just letting Shane run with it. So I got him out. I got the blood off his face, and I had terramycin, which is an eye antibiotic. I have it on hand. Why do I have it on hand? Because it's good for respiratory. It's good for eye infections. It's a very good antibiotic. So I have that. And so I ran and got the antibiotic, and I put it in his eye because I didn't want his eye to get infected. And I cleaned it all up. And Friday, I debated to take him to the vet. I was like, do I take him to the vet? What do I do? And I saw the laceration on his eye. And I asked Shane, I said, did you see anything? He goes, well, he was over there. I thought he was fighting with a rooster, but he said he was fighting with two hens. I've never seen I've never seen Jack fight with chickens, but Shane said there were two hens and Jack had one of them down. Well, obviously the chicken had pecked Jack in the eye because there was a laceration on the top part of his eye. So I knew to put antibiotics in. Well, the next day was Friday. To make a long story short, I'm sitting outside. You know, I had surgery Thursday. I'm sitting outside. I hadn't even brushed my teeth yet. I didn't even have on a bra. Okay. I'm sitting outside drinking my coffee, and all these cars start pulling in the driveway. And I was like, what's going on? Shane goes, what is going on? I'm like, I have no idea. And these people are starting to pull to the farm. And I was like, and I look at my calendar real quick, and I was like, okay, I don't have a field trip. What is this? So I walk out there, and this lady says, oh, we have a field trip today. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am sitting here with no bra, hadn't brushed my teeth, hadn't even brushed my hair, and just had surgery, and people are pulling in the yard for a field trip. Well, all these kids are in the car. Well, what is that going to do? Say, I just had surgery. I'm not doing this field trip. No, I'm not doing that to these children. So I said, okay, look, I've had surgery. Bear with me. I will do the field trip, but we're going to have to take it slow. So I did the field trip Friday. So I'm looking at Jack while I'm doing the field trip. Well, he's not himself. Jack is a very noisy gander. He didn't even care that anybody was in the. So I didn't take him to the vet Friday morning because people pulled in my driveway. So I sat there and debated. I was like, do I take him to the vet or do I not? Well, I know what the vet's going to do. He's going to give him antibiotics. I'm already giving him antibiotics. So I called a friend of mine because there was some swelling still, which is normal. And I said, what do you think I should do? Because this is what poultry people do. What do you think I should do? And she said, well, I have some steroids. So why don't we give some steroids to reduce the swelling? So she came over. We gave Jack steroids and he was getting antibiotics. And she had this medicine that it's like a powder that goes in the eye and it's for pain. So if they have, like a goat has pink eye, that can be painful. And so the vet had given it to her for pain. She was like, let me give him some of this powder. Let's give him a steroid. Let's give him an antibiotic. Well, that did wonders. All the swelling came down when we gave him the antibiotic. Well, of course, the vet was closed. That was on Saturday. So the vet was closed Sunday. So I told Shane, I said, do you think they will have to remove his eye? And he said, gee, I don't think so. I think that we should just let nature take its place. Because I was thinking, do I take him to the vet? Like, can the vet do anything? And I will tell you, when it comes to poultry, as a matter of fact, I just had this conversation with Chris. This exact thing happened to Chris, but instead of a gander, it was another chicken. And I have a chicken out there that's blind now from being pecked. It's kind of what happens with poultry sometimes. And they usually go blind, but you usually don't do surgery. It kind of just like glasses over and looks kind of weird. But normally they don't do surgery. But because all the swelling's gone and all the blood's gone, I feel like Jack is healing. He's not in any pain. He's actually starting to talk. He's going for a swim multiple times a day. He's eating. So I decided that I may call the vet and ask them, is there anything you can do? Do I need to bring him in to have surgery? Or do I just need to let it, Jack's going to be blind. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Jack is going to be blind in one eye. It makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. But he's having to learn how to, it's almost like Saturday, he kept running into the fence. And I thought, God, can he see it? I mean, surely he can see in the other eye. But what it is he hasn't learned how to turn his head yet to see, because this eye's blind. So he hasn't learned to go, okay, I've got to turn my head all the way over here to see. And I'm watching him as he learns to maneuver the farm being blind in one eye. God, it's so sad. But y'all know I'm blind in one eye. So I get it, because I can't see in my peripheral vision. I have to turn my head. So watching him do this, it's like his personality's changed, because like when people come to the farm, he goes and greets them, barking at the fence. And now he's like quiet. And he doesn't run for me anymore. He lets me pick him up. And that's not like Jack. Jack would not just let me walk up to him and pick him up, and he does now. But I will let y'all know. I'm going to call the vet this morning and see if he needs to have surgery or if he's just going to be blind and that's just the way he's going to be. It's not fun. I think in my head, which I put this on my Judy Waniger Sneed page, but you know how I teach people when they come to my farm not to discriminate against people with disabilities? And that came from me having the center at my farm every Wednesday. And, you know, I think back when I was in school, when someone had a disability, people made fun of them. And so I really want to educate the next generation about not making fun or not discriminating against them. And I look in my farm and, you know, she has problems with her sight, and Quacky Jackie has one leg, and now Jack has one eye. And I sit here and think about, this is another opportunity for me to teach against discrimination, because Jack's eye is going to look funny, like funny looking. With Quacky Jackie having one leg, you don't really notice it until I point it out. Now, when she starts hopping, you notice it. But if she's just standing there, you don't really, that's not the first thing you see. Where when you see Jack, the first thing people are going to ask me is what happened to his eye. It's very noticeable. So me being able to talk to kids about how I was born with one eye, but you can't tell it. Like when you look at me, that's not the first thing you notice, because I have control over my eye. You have no idea that I'm blind in one eye. But when you look at Jack, you can see that he's blind in one eye. The chicken that's out there, you can tell she's blind in one eye. Chris's chicken, you can tell that chicken has been pecked or you don't know it's been pecked, but you know the chicken's blind. So like, I feel like this is going to be a learning opportunity for people to not go, ew, you know, because kids will do that. So I really hope that through Jack's situation that I can teach kids not to make fun of someone. You know, you think about people that can't control their eye, that's, you know, got cross-eyed or has a lazy eye that floats around. You know, we see people like that, and not to go, ew, what's wrong with your eye? You know, so this is going to be another opportunity for me to teach people that don't do that. Why? Jack can't help it. Love him. Love him for who he is. He looks different, but he's no different from me. I can't see either out of one eye. You know, so I really hope that I'm able to use this situation with Jack to educate other people about not discriminating against people with disabilities. So, all right, moving on to my thumbnail. Hang on. Where's Judge Judy? I gotta look and see what it says exactly. Oh, Judge Judy, where'd you go? Oh, here she is. Judge Judy says women should earn their own money, otherwise men can control them. So I wanted to talk about this. I'm going to talk about Before I talk about myself, I'm going to talk about two people that I know growing up. Well, not growing up, I was an adult. I had two people that I know. One of them was disabled. She'd worked her whole life, but then she became disabled and she was dependent of her husband's income because she didn't really get a lot from disability. This other person was retired and she did not get very much money from her retirement and she was dependent of her husband's income. I'm going to talk about these two women and the difference in them. So, this friend of mine that was depending on her husband's income because she had no choice. I mean, she's disabled. And with her, depending on her husband's income, it was almost like she couldn't make decisions, like big decisions, like like it was like her decisions didn't matter. Like if they sat down and said, "We're going to buy a new car," it was like his decision was the final decision because he was the breadwinner. And this friend of mine wanted to redo her kitchen, and she went to her husband about redoing the kitchen. Well, redoing a kitchen to a man seems unnecessary. Most men are like, we're not redoing the kitchen. That just seems, why are we going to spend $15,000 on redoing the kitchen? Like, why? Because most men don't care about painting the cabinets. Like, I want my cabinets to look better. That's a woman thing, right? Men are not going to go, "Hey, honey, let's redo the cabinets." A woman's going to go to a man and say, "I want to brighten up my kitchen. I want to paint my cabinets." That's more like a woman thing. So men are not equipped to understand why you want to spend $15,000 on granite countertops or painting your cabinets. Well, when it came to her not making income, the decision lied within him. He was the final decision maker because he was a breadwinner. She decided that she wasn't going to, he went off, I don't know, to work or something for like a week or two. He had to travel. And when he got home, she had redone the whole entire kitchen. So once he saw it, he was glad she did it. But she went behind him and did it. This other friend of mine totally depends on her husband for income. And y'all, it used to drive me crazy because they didn't have any money. Okay. They really didn't. They lived in this big house, but they had no money. They had no money in savings. They lived paycheck to paycheck. He was not in good health. He worked every day. She didn't. And I kept thinking in my head, what are you going to do if he dies? She didn't worry about that. I worried about that as her friend. I was like, you need to get it together. What are you going to do if he dies? And I can remember her telling me, well, he's got life insurance. I think it was like $150,000 life insurance, but he had kids. She married him and they're not her kids. And she would go, well, half the money goes to his kids and half the money goes to me. Well, they had no equity in their house because they had gotten a second mortgage on their house to pay off a bunch of debt. And I'm thinking in my head, you're going to get $75,000. You have no equity. You're upside down in your house. You have no money in savings. You depend on your husband for income. What happens if something happens to him? What are you going to do? And I remember like, I could not live like that. I'm not the fly by the seat of your pants when it comes to things like that. I'm more like, you better get it together. And she used to drive me crazy because she did not worry at all about her future. Where my other friend, she would have been fine. This friend would have been, I don't know what she would do. And I can remember just sitting back going, how do you do that? Like, how do you not worry? And I can remember talking to her going, hey, let's let me put you in touch with my financial advisor, and maybe you can start slowly like planning for your future. Well, this girl's in her 60s. It's almost like, you better get it together. Like, because I would worry about her, worrying about if something happens to her husband, because she would lose her house because she can't afford the house payment. She can't sell her house and get equity because she's upside down because she has a second mortgage. She has no money in savings, no more income from her husband. And I would feel like I could not breathe. That's me personally. But it didn't bother her. It didn't bother her at all. And I thought in my head, how do you do that? Like, I couldn't live like that. In the past, prior to Shane, I was always the breadwinner. Well, when it came to like decision, let's just say he wanted to redo the kitchen. I was like the team player. Okay, let's do it. Or hey, let's go. We need a new car. Let's go buy a new car. I didn't say, "Oh, this is my money. You ain't getting my money." I was a team player. I was not like, I make more money than you and I make the decisions in the house. I was nothing like that. I was more like, okay, well, I was the type of person who just, my checks went into our joint checking account and he paid the bills, and that's just how it was. I didn't, I never, I never differentiated the difference in my check and his check. We were as one. When I think about, and I don't like to talk about religion a lot, but I am going to tell you my thoughts on it. When it talks about um, the chain of command, when it talks about like who's supposed to be important in your life, it goes God, your spouse, your children, your work, and your friends. That's how I was brought up. Like, number one is God. The next is your husband. You take care of your husband. You and your husband are as one. You are not separate. That's how I was brought up. Like, nothing is separated. You are as one. Then your children, your work, and your friends. That's how I've always thought, because that's how I was brought up. And that's what I've always believed. I don't believe there's his money, her money. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have a checking account with your stuff, his stuff, because it is easier to keep up with. But when it comes to, I don't make money, you make money, I don't believe that. I don't believe, but it does say, and I'll have to figure out where it's at. It does say in the Bible that you are to basically the final decision rests with your husband. You may agree with that, you may not. In my head, I feel like Shane is the head of the household. He's never let me down. And I trust if he says no, I might go, but like, I know he's leading us in the right direction. I trust Shane when it comes to finances to know that he's not going to lead us astray. Shane is very careful. So I trust him when it comes to that. The thought of a woman not making money, I know back many years ago, women didn't work. Women stayed at home, raised the kids, worked in the fields, you know, grew their crops and cooked and cleaned and took care of the children. And a lot of people feel like once women entered the workforce, there was a time where I don't know who started it, but do y'all remember? I don't know how many years ago where women felt like they were treated differently and they wanted to go into the workforce and they didn't want to be, they want to be treated equally to a man, and they wanted to be a CEO. When all that happened, I was alive when all that happened, when women's rights came into play. And some people believe that once women entered the workforce, that's where affairs started happening because women were in the workforce and they weren't at home. And there's a lot of controversy when it comes to women working and things like that. And I think about like what happened hundreds of years ago when women didn't work. They didn't get an income and they totally depended on their husbands. Were they able to redo their kitchen? Like, that was probably not a priority. You know what I mean? They probably didn't have granite back then. I don't know. But like, you think about life when it was simple, where the husband went to work and was the provider, the women stayed home and handled the children and the house. And sometimes I've seen people that I know that tried to live their life like that in today's world, where the woman should stay home with the children and homeschool the children, and I'm going to go to work. And like for me, watching that, because I have people in my family that have done that, I've seen the man with all the stress of trying to provide for this family while the wife stays home. And it puts a lot of pressure on the man, because I feel like in today's world, everything's so expensive. It's almost as if you have to have two incomes to even have a house, because you can't even hardly find a house for $150,000, not even $200,000. The little mini houses that are up the street are almost $100,000. The little pop-up mini houses, I mean, they're like $100,000. So like in today's world, it almost like it takes two incomes just to make ends meet. Can y'all hear me? Am I stalling? Can y'all hear me? I think I'm okay now. If you're a one-person household, you know the stress that I'm talking about, where you have to pay for everything. And I guess in your head, you're like, oh, I get it. I know what that man feels like because I've always had to be the provider and pay all my bills. But when it comes to women and should women work, I don't know. I don't know what's right for you. I have no clue. Like, I can't answer that question because I feel like I can't say what's right from wrong for I don't live your life. I just know for myself. This is Judy. This is Judy's opinion for herself. I feel more secure when I know if Shane left this world today, I'm going to be okay. That's me personally. I can't live a life and sit here and go to bed at night and lay my head and go to sleep unless I know that my future is secured. Like there's a retirement there. There's money in savings. Or if Shane was to leave this earth, am I going to be okay? Same with Shane. If I leave this earth, is Shane going to be okay? And it's up for Shane and Judy to work together to make us both secure for our future. Because I will tell you in my head, this is me in my head, I ain't living with my kids. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. No way. Now that I have been through taking care of someone and them living in my house and I ain't doing that. I watched my grandmother do it. I watched my mom. And now I'm watching Larry. And I don't want that life for my children nor myself. When the time comes, I told Shane, I said, listen, we have to put enough money back that if something happens to us that we can go to a retirement home because I ain't going to my children's. Those jokers won't take care of they ain't gonna take care. I'll get all up on their nerves when I can't hear. Trust me, I've been there. So, like, in my head, I'm like, I want to make sure I'm secure. Now, do I believe? Let me read it again. Hang on. Let me read it one more time. Judge Judy says women should earn their own money, otherwise men can control them. I think it just depends on the man. Do you? Have you been through that where the man tries to control you because you don't make money? I've seen it two ways. I've seen it where it does do that with one of my friends, and then I've seen it where it doesn't do it with another friend. Does Shane try to control me? Well, I do make income. So I can't really, I mean, I've worked my whole life. I've worked 2 jobs my whole life. But when it was flipped and I was the breadwinner, I didn't try to control my spouse. Judge Judy's a little tough. You know what I'm saying? Judge Judy is, can you imagine being married to Judge Judy? You know she's controlling. You know she wears the pants in the house. So I feel like I personally feel like every household is different. But if you're insecure about your future, now's the time to do something about it. I firmly believe, like, my financial advisor is at Edwards Jones, and I go to him for everything. I go to the CPA about my nonprofit. If you are insecure about your future, I would highly recommend going to talk to a financial advisor and going, help me secure my future. How do I do this? This is what I make. This is what we do. If you're insecure, that's what I suggest you do. But I would hate, when you get my age, you know that something could happen to you or your spouse. And although you don't like to think about that, it can happen. When you're in your 20s, you kind of like don't think about that. I mean, it can happen, but you don't really think about that. But when you start getting 50 and older, you start having those hard conversations that say, okay, if something happens to me, I want you to do this. Those conversations start happening more often versus when you're in your 20s. So, like, if you're insecure or you feel controlled, I feel like personally, there's so many jobs now that you can do at home that you could just secure your future and work from home. You just got to figure it out. But I hate to see anybody controlled personally. And if you're in that relationship where you're controlled, I don't know. I know that there were relationships that I was in where I was controlled when it came to money, even though I was the breadwinner. To me, when I was controlled, I was very depressed. So that's why I always talk about you going to work on you. If your future scares you, you need to go work on it. If it don't bother you and you're like my friend that goes, I don't know what's going to happen, I ain't worried about it. I won't worry about it till it happens. God bless you, but I'm not that person. I worry about my future. But I feel like Judge Judy is really harsh, personally. But if this is a wake-up call to you for your future, to plan your future, Edwards Jones is a good financial advisor. They're everywhere. Call them up and say, hey, I want to talk about my future. I want to make sure I'm secure. What do I need to do? What do you suggest? This is where I'm at. That way you can lay your head down at night if you're like me and you worry about it. I hope I made sense. All right, guys, it's 8:00. I'm supposed to have a field trip today. It seems like when I do things for free, people don't show up. I don't know why that happens. It's weird because I haven't heard from these people, so I don't even know if they're coming. And it's a free field trip. And I had a tour this weekend, and it's been booked for like 3 or 4 weeks. And it was a grandmother bringing her grandkids, and I put it down, and she didn't pay me up front. And then she doesn't show up. You know, you try in your heart to do things to give back, but it's like when there's no investment, they don't show up. So I don't know what's going to happen today. I may have a field trip, may not. I hope they come because it is a group of people from Gadsden that have disabilities, and I hope that they come. All right. Remember, you have choices today. Sitting it out to me is sitting and worrying about things that you can't control. Dancing is going to figure out how to fix the things that you're worrying about. So if you worry about your future, you're sitting it out. Today's the day that you can make a difference and go, what do I need to do to secure my future? And you can pick up the phone and you can call. I just say Edwards Jones because that's who I use, but there's like a zillion people out there that you can call and go, I need help. So I call that dancing. I will see you guys Wednesday. Bye.